The baker's beautiful mistake. When I was a young boy, my walk to school was haunted by the most intoxicating, yet painful aroma. It came from a small, cozy bakery at the corner of my neighborhood. Every morning, as the ovens were cracked open, the scent of fresh bread and sweet, velvety cream would drift through the air, teasing my senses. But for me, that sweetness was a luxury I couldn't afford. With holes in my socks and pockets that held nothing but air, I learned to keep my head down, walking faster to escape the temptation that I knew wasn't meant for me. Then came a morning that changed everything. As I was hurrying past, trying to ignore the growl in my stomach, a gruff but warm voice called out, "Hey, kid. Hold on a second." I looked up to see the baker standing there, his apron dusted with flour like a badge of honor. He held out a pastry that looked like a disaster. It was crushed, lopsided, with swirls of fresh cream oozing out of the sides. He tossed it toward me with a casual shrug. "Here, take this. I completely messed up the batch this morning. It's too ugly to sell, and I'd only end up throwing it in the trash. Do me a favor and eat it, will you?" I caught the warm, heavy pastry in my hands, stunned. The moment I took a bite, the cool, rich cream melted on my tongue. It was, without a doubt, the most incredible thing I had ever tasted. The baker just rubbed the back of his neck, looking a bit embarrassed, and shouted, "Don't think twice about it, it's garbage anyway," before disappearing back into the shop. But a strange thing started happening. The next day, and every day after that, the baker was waiting with another failure. One day, the cream puffs were too puffy. The next, the bread was too flat. Every single morning, I received a warm, fresh pastry, filled to the brim with cream. He called them mistakes, but they tasted like heaven. Before long, we became the unlikeliest of friends. I would sit on a small wooden stool in the corner of the shop, chattering away about my life, how I finally aced my math test, or how I'd gotten into a scuffle on the playground. He would just listen, letting out a soft chuckle now and then, as he kneaded the dough. That bakery became more than a shop. It was my sanctuary, the one place where I felt truly seen and cared for. However, as the years passed and the awkwardness of my teenage years set in, I began to feel a strange sense of shame. I became acutely aware of my poverty, and the ugly bread started to feel like a reminder of what I lacked. I began to avoid that street, choosing longer routes to school just to bypass the baker's kindness. Eventually, I left for college in a different city, and the memory of the baker faded into the background of my busy new life. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Not long ago, I found myself back in my hometown. As I drove past the old corner, my heart sank. The bakery windows were dark, and a faded sign on the door read, "Closed indefinitely due to health reasons." In that moment, a wave of nostalgia hit me so hard, it took my breath away. I suddenly craved the taste of that ugly cream bread more than anything in the world. I managed to track down a phone number, and eventually found myself standing in a quiet hospital room. The man in the bed was a shadow of the giant I remembered. He was frail and pale, his hands no longer covered in flour, but hooked to IV lines. I took his weathered hand in mine, my voice trembling. "Sir, do you remember me? I'm the boy you used to give the ugly bread to." His wife, who was sitting by the window, wiped a tear from her eye and spoke for him. "Young man, you should know the truth. My husband spent every morning for 10 years, purposely crushing those pastries." I froze, unable to speak. She continued, her voice soft with emotion. "We lost our only son when he was very young. After that, whenever my husband saw a hungry child on their way to school, he wanted to do something. But he knew that just giving food away might hurt a child's pride. So, every morning, he would take a perfect, beautiful pastry and press his hand down on it. He made them ugly on purpose, just so he could give them to you without making you feel like a charity case." My heart shattered as the realization washed over me. For a decade, that man had been meticulously destroying his own hard work, just to protect the dignity of a poor boy. He wasn't giving me his scraps, he was giving me his best, disguised as a mistake, so that I could hold my head high while I ate. Now, I visit that hospital room every single week. I sit by his bed and tell him stories, just like I did when I was a boy. Because now, it's my turn to be the ugly bread, for him to be the comfort and the sweetness. In his darkest hour, returning the love that once saved me. Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear, and the blind can see. Mark Twain. The cream that overflowed from those crushed pastries wasn't just sugar and milk. It was a pure, unspoken grace. That grace is now the greatest strength I carry in my life. If this story touched your heart, please double tap the screen and hit the plus button. Your likes and subscriptions give us the strength to keep creating. Please share this story with the people you love.